We're here to discuss one of the really, truly exciting projects that we ran into here at SVG over the past year, which was the use of volumetric capture at the Open Championship. And I think nothing speaks to this better than the images. So Duncan, I think we'll start with the first sizzle.
Good idea.
One of the stars at Royal Portrush is Henrik Stenson, with open pedigree, a past champion and a great ball striker, one of the very best in the world. And we want to bring you a world's first right now in the open zone using Sky Scope technology. And that allows me to take Henrik from out there and bring him in here.
Excellent, that's great. Okay, so I love this project. It was one of those things where we didn't even know until we got there. Anybody notice in the video in the background there was a dome? That dome is kind of the key to the whole project. We'll run this next video, and as it's playing, you're no doubt they're all going to be saying this is very impractical. But we're going to talk about this technology as a stepping stone in a bigger picture. So let's run the second video that kind of explains how this all kind of came together.
We always like to bring something new to the Open Championship, and this year is no exception. In fact, this innovation is a little bit extra special. It is the Sky Scope. Sounds complicated, but it's anything but. It's really cool, and it will change not only the way you view a player's golf swing, but the way they will, and also the way they'll work on it. Let's go and take a look.
That's where I hit from.
As with any trip to the golf course, the first stop always has to be the pro shop, right? But in this case, it's the Sky Scope Pro Shop. This one's a little bit different though. Still all the clubs, all the different manufacturers, but all the manufacturers are the top players in the world. The 148th Open competitors coming into the Sky Scope. This is what they will have. So you can see the names of some of the players, the exact clubs they use. Dustin Johnson, for instance, this is his driver. This is the one he used when we captured the image of him. You can see the little motion sensors on the club. This was his club. But what's it all about? Let's go and find out. So this is where the magic happens. We've collected our club from the Pro Shop, and now we're into, well, the magic room of Sky Scope. This is where we capture the images. You can see green everywhere you look, as well as a whole lot of cameras, 120 to be precise. So what's it all about? Well, it is volumetric capture integrated with motion capture. Sounds quite complicated, but what it effectively means is that we can now see in augmented reality, which means we can bring the virtual world into the real world. Now, you've seen that before in the open zone where we do the tee times and the guys walk up alongside us. Well, you know, they're not really there. They're on the practice ground or on the golf course already. This will take a massive gallery. Francesco Molinari alongside Tiger Woods. This one's different though, because this now means we can look at their golf swing and not just look at it in a traditional way, which is amazing for us, but also for the players involved. Let me show you what I mean. So they've come in here, they've whooshed away their golf swing, stood on this lovely little line, very simple to do, very easy to do.
Start with the club on the X here,
Yeah.
eye line to that white piece of paper, take a beat, step up to the line, do the address, if you step up to this line and pick your own mark there basically. Action! And cut! Back in.
So that was Podre going through the whole process, and in the end of it all, this is what you're left with. So this is my hologram in augmented reality, and it allows me to be able to look at my swing from so many different angles. You can see even by me just even crouching down, I get a very different look at my swing. So I'm looking at it from face on here as well, which is a really cool thing to do, but you say, well, I can do that normally anyway. What you can't do is obviously be able to change the focus, size of what I look at, But most importantly, and the bit I think is really cool about this, really fun for us to look at home, the ability to be able to turn the golfer around, and for me in particular, the release pattern. When would you ever get to see from this angle in the golf swing? So I can see the way that I release the club through the ball, and you know what? I don't like what I'm looking at, but I do like the information that it can give me. Gives us the opportunity to look at the golf swing from a whole new way, which is great for us at home, but also for these players to get to understand their golf swing a little bit better. The technology is amazing, but it's also super cool as well. This is truly a game changer.
Excellent. Love it.
We done? That's okay.
There you go.
Everything you need to know.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to ask a couple of technical questions,
Yeah.
and then we can get into the more philosophical on how this kind of came about.
Hope I answer the technical questions.
From what I understand, the clubs have the markers on them, the players don't. You know, and usually in these kind of situations, you got to wear those suits and things like that. So, why were only the clubs having to be?
So
marked?
interestingly, during testing, when we obviously we did a few tests, one with Nick, which you saw his avatar there. It was clear very quickly that the club was just moving too fast to be captured in the volumetric capture, in the way that we're capturing the individuals. So we had to put the motion sensors on the clubs, and that's why it was a combination of volumetric capture for the athletes, for the golfers, and then the motion capture for the club itself. And that allowed us to create really cool 3D models of the clubs, which actually, they look stunning. They look really great.
Right, and so you were shooting the players and the clubs at different frame rates, I think, the cameras, because there's two sets of cameras, I believe, in there.
So it was 30 frame rate per second was the volumetric capture.
Right.
I couldn't tell you what the motion capture frame rate was.
I think it was fast.
There you go.
Yeah,
you know better than I do.
Right. So, okay, so how did this come about? Because this is, again, this looks like a very expensive project,
Yeah,
right?
it was.
But it was cool that, number one, it looks like the kind of project you would have done months in advance as opposed to setting it up on the course in the rain, which we have, there's different videos of that bouncing around. So how did this come about?
So, a guy called James Banfield, who works for MRMC, who are owned by Nikon, he came to Sky and pitched a few cool things to us, but nice bit of innovation. They're a great company, MRMC. That we use them a lot in many ways. Very innovative company, very forward thinking. And he pitched a few ideas, and one of which was a sort of version of that. And it was one of those sort of light bulb moments, thinking, do you know what? That would work. And then it was a case of, look, where could we use it? And there is no better platform for it than golf, right? I think it's the ideal sport for it. We'll come on to later about where, other sports and where we think we could use it. But yeah, it was a combination of coming together, of seeing a sort of half an idea and us bringing our part to the party, which is really how most of these things work, right, from the start. You don't just go to NAB and go and pick stuff off the peg, right, and go and stick it on air for the first time. It's you've got to work together with people that with different ideas and bring ideas together and see what you can create.
Now, did you think of trying to make the dome smaller, bigger? I mean, what sort of and obviously there were no balls flying around because you had a lot of cameras.
Yeah, so it's an interesting point actually, and that was a good bit of feedback from the golfers that when you're capturing their swing, they want to hit a ball. So when we do it again. Not if, when we do it again, we'll find a way of making sure we can. Well, we've already got plans in place and making sure that they can hit a ball in there as well. So, okay. But yeah, look, the dome needed to be a certain size specification. It was the first time we'd done it like that. Interestingly, going forward, MRMC have built now a transportable truck. Expanding truck, this absolute beast of a vehicle, which can rock up and we can go to the athletes, right, instead of having to bring them to us, because that's one of the main problems is their time. But the dome was obviously the first time we'd done this, and it was working with the RNA, being able to build it on the driving range. It was a battle, and as you said, the weather, goodness me, in Ireland over for the Open was horrific. Right.
Now I want to get to the RNA a little bit because I think what's fascinating about what goes on at the majors, and including, I'm going to include TPC Players Championship in that, even though it isn't a major, but there's a lot of competition between them all. I mean, you saw today what the Masters did with the every shot. Now the Players is going to have every shot live. RNA has always been very forward thinking with cable cams and such. So what was their reaction to this, and what do you see as the bigger picture for this to other majors and to golf in general?
Yeah, I think, look, the RNA were fantastic. As you say, they are, again, very forward-thinking. It helped that Nikon are a sponsor of the Open. That certainly helped in the negotiations of building a great big dome in the middle of the driving range. But, I'm sorry, what was the rest of the question, Ken?
As far as just how now, where do you see kind of the other organizations and the kind of their competition on technologies like this?
Yeah, so look, the truck helps us, right, as far as the communication around being able to build something like that at an event is difficult. So the truck will help with that. You still got to go and park a great big, huge truck in the middle of somewhere to achieve what we want to do. So yeah, look, I think it'll be case by case. Let's be honest, you're not going to go and dump a big truck in the middle of Augusta. You know, it's just tough just getting in there yourself, right? So there'll be different challenges with different organisations, and we'll play this by ear.
Right. Is this the kind of thing, again, I'm skipping around a little bit, that's okay. So volumetric, I'm looking at other sports. So again, you have something like this where it would be great if you kind of did it. Well, first of all, the PGA Tour did it, or somebody like something like that said, we're going to do this for all the players, so that way it's all available to all the other majors, and you can use it during this. Do you see that possibility? Would that help, or is it better as this is our thing, and we don't want to share it with NBC?
Well, no, no. Look, NBC are siblings, right? So,
right.
So no, they're very welcome.
Yes.
Others, yeah, not so sure. I don't know.
Right.
Look. Everyone wants to be first and wants to be, the best, and you want to get the eyeballs, and you want to be, you want to be seen as a forward-thinking, innovative broadcaster. And so, look, that's why we do these things.
Right. Sure.
We don't just do it to have fun, although it was fun. You do it for the customers. You do it for the business. So where we see value in it going forward, we'll look to do it again.
So, okay, I'm going to ask you anyway because you hinted at doing it again. So, can you talk about that, or?
Well, again, we're negotiating at the moment.
Okay.
I think you said very early on it's expensive.
Right.
It's really bloody expensive.
Right.
So we need to come up with a better plan going forward.
Right.
But we're negotiating at the moment.
So you mentioned hitting a real ball. So, as someone who has attempted to hit a real ball in their apartment, I just want to let you know that when you're in a confined space, if you hit the ball and it hits a wall, it's not a good thing. It's gonna, let alone if there's cameras on the wall.
Yeah.
So is there going to be like a little hole that they're going to hit the ball through, or how does this?
Well, look, even though they are pros, you're right. Everyone's got a shank in them every now and again. But it's easy for me to say. Thankfully, I came out okay. But no, you can also just different driving ranges. You get the ball on on the tee that hits the ground, actually goes into the ground, so the ball doesn't need to actually go anywhere.
Gotcha.
So there's stuff out there that you can. The key is just getting the club hitting a ball, so you get that much truer view of what a swing is.
Right, gotcha. So okay, we have this application. One of the other really cool things I saw this year was the Canon free viewpoint system, which is used for the Rugby World Cup.
Yeah.
Again, that was 120 cameras, maybe 130 cameras around the stadium. Amazing volumetric capture. So let's spend a few minutes just talking volumetric capture. What do you see? Is this going to become a thing, and why?
Oh, most definitely. I think I'm glad you brought the Canon piece up from the Rugby World Cup, because that was incredible. And I think if you can combine the two worlds, right? So what we've just seen here and what we did at the Open was it's close-up volumetric capture. It's detail. It's the detail is key. And obviously with the Canon piece, it's there's a distance piece there. There's as soon as you get that little bit closer and you get closer and closer, the quality starts to disappear a little bit. So I think if you can combine the two things, if you imagine capturing all of those rugby players before the World Cup, and then placing those avatars into the real environment. So by doing that, there's you need limb recognition, and that's kind of the next steps as well, and something we're looking into, and that will really bring it alive, right? Because then as soon as you've scanned somebody once, you've got them,
right?
And then you can recreate whatever they've done, and then ideally, like the Rugby World Cup, do it in a live environment. I mean, how cool would that be? Sure. You could direct with a joystick and just sort of one camera, just go with it. It'd be amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, couldn't you do this, like set this up? Let's take the Ryder Cup, big thing coming up at the end of the year. The U.S. is going to finally win this thing back, but that's another story. But couldn't you set this up? And that's look at that tee box, right? So you got the stands. Could you possibly sit there and say, let's just set this up around here and kind of capture that way, so it's more natural?
So capturing the
golf
fans
on the tee box, the players when they're teeing off on the first tee. Because then, then it's sort of, it's not a controlled environment for you, but you could leverage technology that's already being used in the broadcast and say, okay, we put in an extra 5 cameras in, and boom, we can.
You possibly.
Possibly. Okay.
No, I think look that would be a stretch. I think as you saw the dome, incredible amount of technology in there.
Right.
So yeah, as soon as you take it out of that controlled environment and the sunlight piece and everything, I think that could start causing you a few problems.
Yeah. And actually, so let's run the last clip. This was actually shown last month at our UK event, and you can have the volume down, I believe. But we'll just kind of talk over this because this was actually a demonstration. We were going to try to do this here, but I was a little nervous. And we have moving pieces. But basically, at the event last month, this is Jason Landau from your team, and we kind of he's talking about Rory McIlroy, who will pop up. But we were just showing here. I guess this shows how easy it is to deploy this system. So can you explain how this kind of was? You got some markers on the ground.
Yeah. So I mean, in fact, if you wanted to put the audio up quickly.
Together. Gives me great pleasure to introduce Rory McIlroy.
Okay, you missed it, but so Jason introed obviously the different partners that have been in play to create this. I mean, obviously we use Ancam as a tracking system. We use Viz to play it out. We've got our own graphics and data department at Sky, who then they're the brains in order to make all this work. Much cleverer people than me. And look, the key is.
Amazing, right?
Yeah, so interestingly around the detail. So you can start, as you see, when you get really close, right? And especially the cap's a really good indication here. When you look at the peak of the cap, it's not quite right. But that was due to the turnaround time. So these were the assets that we captured at the Open. And we turned them around in 48 hours, right?
Yeah, so how did those data get gathered? It was sent down to London and then? Yeah,
that's right. So it was sent to a company called Dimension, who are partnered with MRMC on this. And they've got their own volumetric capture studio in London. So that the files were sent to them. They did all the rendering and cleaned it all up and turned it around super quick. Yeah. So 48-hour turnaround time for these was tight. And that was in order to, the reason it was tight was because that's when the golfers were available to us, and then that was on air time. So obviously, given more time, you'd clean it up and you'd sort out the imperfections in there, but you get a good idea of how cool the club looks there as well, the club face.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it's pretty cool, right? So the longer you can take, obviously, the more time to finesse it and really sort of clean it all up, the better. But actually, I think we spend. I know I was guilty of it when I was directing. Was you search for everything being perfect,
right?
And actually, the customer doesn't care really. There's enough in that to think, wow. Obviously, if it looked terrible, there'd be a problem. But yeah, we sort of eased off the perfections a little bit.
Right. So what was the players' reaction? I mean, I was amazed. This is also the kind of thing where you wouldn't think you would get Rory or DJ or some of these top players, because they can sometimes say, look, my brand is too, I don't want it to get sullied in case this thing doesn't look very good.
Yeah, so we showed them a similar video of Nick Doherty doing his and us capturing him, and ultimately just showed them that and said, look, this is what we want to do. As soon as they saw that, they were like, yeah, I want a piece of that. Right. Their sponsors wanted a piece of it, the club manufacturers, everybody wanted to be involved. So actually, it was really interesting. We had a blocked set of time at the Open to shoot a certain amount of golfers, and we actually had to turn a few away.
Really?
People who we hadn't planned on scanning were sort of turning up thinking, oh yeah, am I important enough to get a scan?
Right.
Unfortunately, they weren't. So.
Right. Well, this is like a coaching for coaches. This is like a dream, right, for them to be able to take it also. And
yeah. So I think that's another huge field for this, right? Is from a coaching point of view. You saw with Nick with the iPad on the clip around. How you can manipulate the avatars and move them around, and by pinching it and putting them into different areas. There's loads of stuff you could do. I mean, this is just a linear broadcast, but we're looking at some really cool stuff in the VR goggle world with those as well, where you can you walk around the avatar and crouch down and look underneath, and it's amazing.
Right. Now this is also, to me, this is one of those. What I find fascinating with any innovation like this is the reaction was good. Yeah. Right, and in golf, as we know, when people react to things well, it usually gets done again and again and again, because it's like the shot tracer. there was a time when it was the exception, right? And then all of a sudden now it's such the rule that when it's not on the shot, you think that something's wrong.
Yeah.
The system is busted.
Yeah.
So what do you think the demand is going to be for? And the players like it too, right? So they would be like, well, I expect to do this now. So what's your sense on?
Yeah, look, I think everyone wants to do it again. Everyone wants to go again. As I say, it's just tough due to the finances involved in it.
Right.
I'll keep coming back to that. And I think we talked yesterday. There was some good workshops on AR and VR, and I think everybody said about what would you change? What would help improve this world? Just make it cheaper. Yeah.
Right. But that should eventually. I mean, I would think that, for example, cameras resolution can shoot wider. You can maybe do less need less cameras.
Yeah, look, like with everything, right? The technology gets better, it gets faster, it gets cheaper. It's we will get there.
Right.
But yeah, we just need to keep working together on it as well. And that's the key, because obviously all the different people behind the technology. We need them, they need us. But yeah, look, we're not going to stop here, that's for sure.
Yeah, sure. And so what other sports do you think this has applications for? I could see tennis would be great.
Yeah, so athletics would be pretty incredible. I mean, I was thinking about this, I've been thinking about loads of different case studies, but look, I think obviously golf was so perfect due to the fact that it's one individual. It's a grounded position. It's made for it, right? And then you start thinking about football or soccer or American football. Sorry, I'll just call it football.
Baseball, cricket would be.
Baseball, yeah. But I think, and I mentioned limb recognition earlier. I think once you can start bringing limb recognition into things because you've only got a small place to capture the individual right now, right? So it has to be static, needs to be there. But if you want to recreate. I'll use football as an example because it's my favourite sport. Mo Salah dribbling through the Barcelona defence. You're not going to be able to do that, right? So, but you can if you start bringing limb recognition in. So you scan him, you take the limb recognition from the actual footage, put those things together, and then any sport.
Right. I know of at least one demonstration that I saw at NAB a couple years ago at the Sony booth. I believe they're showing some sort of limb recognition where they're using the Hawkeye system to track the data, and they're able to get it down for like the handballs and that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
They marriage that kind of stuff with the graphics and.
Exactly. Yeah. Probably giving away too much here, actually.
Sorry.
It's just, no, it's fine. I forget I'm in a big room. But it's look, that's where it's going to go. There's loads of people doing it now. The limb recognition. It's not quite there yet.
Right.
Because again, the key is how can you do it without putting in huge infrastructures into stadiums and all these different cameras. Can you just take it from the 2D footage that you're receiving, your broadcast cameras? If you can do that, then we're on to a winner.
Right. Excellent. Well, great. Thank you, Duncan, for coming over.
Absolute pleasure.
Really
It's good to be
appreciate
here.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.